I've been in team sports role care for 5 years, roundabouts. So just we're starting from the start here. I lived in housing commission for most of my life. I had a single mother, and I never really thought I'd ever be playing sports outside of school. I'm going to move it up a little. I never thought I'd have the opportunity to play sports outside of school. So one day after a psychologist appointment, a psychologist go to the spine. Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to do it? Yeah. That's fine.
Okay, so after a psychologist appointment, they recommended me to this organization. And I was skeptical at first because, you know, growing up in a low economic house, struggling to pay rent, struggling to buy groceries, playing sport was literally the least of my concerns. Like, how would I get there? How would I pay for my uniform? How do I pay for the fees? How would I devote my days and my weeks to this sport? But my sister pushed me towards it, and they came to my house and they explained, and basically I started playing sport after, I wanted to play hockey at first, but it wasn't hockey season, so I started playing volleyball. And safe to say, it changed my whole life. I don't think I'd be the woman I am today if I had never started playing sport that day, because I learned how to be more resilient. I learned how to take my battles like easier and not to make my whole life revolve around a tiny little problem that I could solve in a week instead of in that day. I learned how to time manage. I learned how to be a better person, to be more friendlier, to take some time and to just calm down, because not everything has to be a rush, especially when you grow up in such a low economic house. Children take that onto themselves. It's not just the parent that feels the stress of not having rent paid and not having groceries in the fridge. It's also the children that feel it, because I don't think it's the best feeling to wake up and not know if you're gonna have lunch to take to school that day or to have breakfast in that morning. So it took the stress off me, and it took the stress off my guardian and my parents, and they gave my family a way to not be as stressed all the time, because I had another outlet and they had that responsibility taken off their shoulders, so they could focus on more difficult problems other than just thinking if I'm going to be okay that day and if I'm going to go to school that day. So, yeah, I would say that Team Sports for All is my guardian angel in a sense, because I really wouldn't be the person, I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for them.
Thanks so much, Juliana. I know that it's not easy to get up in front of a room of strangers and share something so personal, so we're incredibly grateful to you for it. But I think we heard a lot of themes tonight that are not just about sport. Sport is not what we do, sport is how we do it. What we're doing is creating social connection for young people who miss out on social connection, and we do it through sport. Nothing could be more Australian than getting kids into a local environment. And you know, we talk about the crisis of loneliness that's existing in our society, getting bigger and bigger. And it's all about the lack of connection. And that's what we're here to do. We're here to help kids who for connection is difficult, and what we're trying to do is to break that down. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of an insight. I'd like to now move into a bit of a Q&A session, because I suspect that there's lots of questions in the room. I ask Fee maybe to come up and be the chief question taker and delegator to various answerer. But who's got a question? Who would like to ask us something a bit more about what we're doing, how we do it, or who's going to win the grand final in the AFL this year? Not Richmond, is that?
I've got to be Collingwood. Or any feedback or anything that you'd like us to touch on a bit more? Yes.
Probably two questions. Just how do you come across the people that you're going to put into the team sports squad?
The families.
And then how do you marry that up with a sporting club? Because there's two bits you have to do.
So all of our referrals come through normally 3 different avenues. So community service organisations, schools and sporting clubs. So caseworkers and social workers and teachers identify these children as children that would benefit from playing in a community team sport. So they then go onto our website, send through their contact information, a little bit of background information as to why they're being referred to us as well. We then contact that family and arrange to go around and meet them. So we always go around in pairs. We never go inside someone's house unless we're with 2 volunteers or a coordinator and a volunteer. And during that chat with the family, we like to have the kids there because we like to hear what they've got to say because we can learn a lot from them. And during that conversation is when we talk about the type of sport that they'd like to play. So we then try and link them into a club where they might have some friends already playing. So some kids already know the club they want to play. If they don't, then we work closely with a lot of local clubs, and so we can steer them in the right direction. And then after that conversation and that meeting with the family, we then go away and we find some, if there's availability in a team and in a club, and then we process the registration and then we go from there. Yes?
Oh, here representing a Rotary Club.
Yes.
You sort of get all the goodness,
Yeah.
but it comes down to the tin tax of, what it costs to support someone and some sort of sense of effort.
Yeah. So it costs us around about $500 per child per year to play sport, and that keeps them in sport all year round. Now that's an average cost. So we have kids doing sport, all different sports, and as everyone knows, different sports cost different amounts. That's why we work in closely with the sporting clubs, because we can build a relationship with them, and the better the relationship we have with clubs, the better discounts we get. And so when we first approach a club, we always talk to them about working together so that they can lower their fees, which then means we can support more children. And then we also give them the opportunity to refer kids to us as well. So if anyone comes into their sporting club and can't pay the fees, we want to know about them, because yes, we'll get them playing sport for that season, but as you've heard, we also give them ongoing support so that we can keep these kids playing sport long term.
What about registration, uniforms?
Yep, so we cover all of that. So we'll cover all the registration costs and their uniform costs. Now we get loads and loads of stuff donated to us, so we like to recycle. So really our cost of uniforms is very low. It's really only if a child starts and they need a specific uniform for that sport that we'll need to go and purchase it. Most of the time we have enough gear in our kit that we can share with them. Yeah.
So my understanding there all those times ago, that once you take on a child and a family, if they continue, you stay with them?
Correct, that's right, yeah, exactly right. So we, when we speak to the family initially, what we're trying to think about during that conversation is which mentor have we got that we could match up with that family, and then we allocate a mentor to that family who then gives them ongoing support. So the purpose of doing that is to build rapport, so you get to know the family better. Like Mike is Julietta's mentor, and so Mike checks in with Julietta regularly and finds out what's going on and makes sure she's got everything she needs. And if there's any roadblocks along the way, then we try to help to workshop those and come up with some solutions together. But yes, we want to see kids playing sport long term. I almost feel like it would be detrimental if we got a child into sport for one term or one season and then said, oh, that's it, we can't support you anymore. That's more detrimental than actually starting them. So we want to see them. I think, Kerry, you said a while ago that, was it 3 years? If you can keep a child in sport for 3 years, you're going to really make a huge impact and potentially change their life. So we want to see this ongoing.
Because the skills are relatable, as you said, lifelong. So what they're learning in sport and the communication and the social capital, that they're learning how the coaches, that they've got all these people around them outside their families that are motivating
Exactly.
them, and they can use those into their relationships, into their jobs. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the positive role models that are around them. You just never know what a coach might say, or just that encouraging comment at a training session or a game that might make a difference to something that they're dealing with outside of the sport.
So does that mean that when you talk to the families, you're talking about sports that the child wanted to do, so football and cricket, or football?
Correct. Yeah, that's right. So that's right. So that's a classic example. You know, lots of kids that do footy during winter will then go and do cricket, and then it just keeps on going around. But you know, we also find that some kids, we might start playing footy and they might get through a season and then go, oh, I gave it a good red hot go and it's just not for me. And so then we'll talk to them about, well, what's a better option for you? We've had, you know, kids that have so they start something and it doesn't mean they have to stick to that long term. We can change, and you know, the most important thing is to find the sport that the child is passionate about, because then it's not going to be a problem for them to go. Yeah.
Do you know what, one of the things I didn't add to my conversation was, does everyone know Mrs. Baldry? Does that name ring a bell with anyone?
No.
It's a teacher that was really instrumental in creating or helping to promote one of our iconic sportswomen, Kathy Freeman. Her teacher, when she was 8 years old, realised that this was a very talented little girl, had no money, and she did fundraising, so she became an organisation like you, fundraised and bought her to get her to the championships. Her family couldn't afford it. Bought her first set of spikes, and there we have history.
Wow.
It's
It's
a
a
beautiful
story,
story.
isn't it? Interesting. Yes.
What's the level of need at the moment? Like, how many people are you looking to hopefully get on board?
The need, as Mike said, the need is just
That's great.
quite
But in terms of like
mind-blowing.
what you, people that you've got coming in, the
Yeah.
pipeline, etc.,
Yeah.
and to sort of service people effectively.
Yeah.
So that's the one.
Yeah, so we would normally give, we talk about sort of capacity, each mentor, we'll normally give them sort of 4 or 5 families to mentor. So that could mean they've got 10 kids, it could mean they've got 5 kids, depending on how many kids each family's got, obviously. I've got one family who's got 11 kids, so, you know, that's a lot. So we, at the moment, we've got 40 kids who are sitting in our system waiting to be seen by people. Now that's just sometimes circumstantial that, you know, we can't get hold of the family, or and it depends on it. Like, each region is very different. So for example, Port Phillip, we are desperately looking for volunteers because we haven't got enough to service the amount of kids that we've got, that we're looking after at the moment. Bayside, we're not too bad. Yeah, so it's very dependent on each region, and the referrals that come in, we have to stop referrals when we don't have enough mentors to look after the kids, because we want to make sure we're giving the families and the kids the service that we say that we're going to provide.
Do you service any kids with disabilities?
Yes, we have quite a few kids on the Asperger's on the spectrum. For those kids, what we've found is things like Scouts is really, really good, and that has, well, you know, Mike's kid that he helps, he tried a couple of different sports early on, but Scouts is the one that's really, really worked for him. We would never say no to helping anyone, but we look at the criteria, it's just financial disadvantage. So if there is a disability, absolutely we would help.
Physical disability?
Yeah. We would just have to find, it's so great now, there's so many all abilities. Most sports have an all abilities side to them, so yeah, we would absolutely help. Absolutely. Yes.
Do you cover Scouts as well?
Yes, we do. Yeah. It's something that we wouldn't normally. It's a bit outside the realm of team sport, but we look at each family and each child individually and what the need is for that child. And so for the few kids that we've got doing Scouts, they've tried other things and it just hasn't worked for them. And so then they've ended up in Scouts and it's working very well for them. Yeah.
Like a list of the sports that the children
have access to, like they wouldn't go sailing, maybe. There's only certain clubs or certain sports that they can participate in.
We do have a list of the types of all the different sports and the times that they run throughout the year. Again, we're guided by the child. So when we go and meet the family, we talk to them about what they're passionate about and what their interests are. If they don't know, if they sit there and they think, oh, I've just got no idea, then we ask some questions like, well, what do you like to play at recess, or what do your friends play at recess, or have you got any friends that are playing in a particular sport? And sometimes for those kids, we need to try a few different things to get to the right thing. But if someone came and said, oh, I want to do sailing, then we would look into it. Absolutely. Yeah. It's just the classic individual sports that we sort of try to steer away from, because we want to create that team aspect and everything you learn from being part of a team.
And what sort of training is involved for the volunteers?
Yep. So when we first get a volunteer that comes on, then we always have a chat over the phone and just make sure it's the right fit for that person. And then we spend time, I've been pursuing today actually, we spend time going through the whole sort of process. So, from start to end, like step by step. And what that involves is talking about the types of families that we have, what happens when a referral comes to us, step-by-step guide of how we then bring the volunteer in. And then we have got an online portal, so we do some training with the online portal, and then we go out and start seeing families. So it's a bit on-the-job training as well, because it's hard to sort of explain all the different scenarios unless you're actually out and you're actually starting to meet families. So once you've met a family, then we get together again and we chat about the process again, and just sort of go over it until everybody's happy and understands. Yes.
Are there different types of volunteer roles that you're looking for, or is it primarily the sports mentor? And does the sports mentor also provide transport for the children?
So majority of our volunteers are in a sports mentor role, but we're always looking for people that have got different skill sets. So if you sort of think, well, I don't think I really sort of would enjoy working with a family, because it's not for everyone. It's absolutely not for everyone. But people might have a different skill set. Someone might love fundraising, for example. We're always looking for people to come and help us with things like fundraising. We run a couple of events every year, so if somebody had a specialty in events, we would love to have their skills. IT, photography. Graham is a photographer, so he helps us out. We've got Scott here as well. So Scott is Scott, where's Scott? Oh, there you are, sorry. Looking at there. Scott came on as a volunteer grant writer. So he had a special skill set in that, and that is so beneficial to us, because running a charity, we run it very, very low cost, very, very low cost. So any help that we can get in different people's skills is so beneficial to us. It's like running your own sort of small business, where you have to have all the different hats on. You've got marketing, you've got bookkeeping, you've got IT, you've got admin, you've got events, you've got fundraising, and then you've got all the operational stuff. So there's sort of there's lots. If anyone has a specific skill that they think would benefit us, we'd love to hear. There's also different roles, such as a couple of different things like we call the sporting club liaison. So what that person does would be to work directly with the club, so that we can build those relationships and then hopefully get a good relationship and hopefully get some help with the fees. And it's a relationship building type role. That same role is also for community service organisations, and then we've got schools as well. So it's very relationship building. So we would love anybody that's interested in that type of thing as well, that love to talk to. Any other questions or comments?
Do you drive?
Oh, transport, that's right, transport. Okay, so no, we don't, because we're all about connecting these families with their community, and so we want these kids to be integrated into a sport and into a team just like every other child. So there's only normally 1 or 2 people at the club level that know that the child's part of Team Sports for All, because we need to talk to them about getting the child registered, obviously. If a parent or a family don't have transport, then we would link them in with the team manager of that team and get them onto the carpooling, which is really fantastic because they sit in the car, they listen to all the conversation that's going on. You just never know what's being, talked about in the car. And so we're all about just integrating them in just like any other child. Yeah. And there's not enough hours in the day as well to do it.
Great. Are there any other questions? I do like a show that runs on time or ahead of schedule. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
All right, well, if there's no other questions now, what I'd suggest for everyone who's considering getting involved in the organisation to take away what you've heard tonight and to think about it and think about whether you think it's something that's worthwhile, you think that it's something that might bring something to your life. It's not just about helping other people, but as you've heard tonight, it's incredibly personally rewarding. You'll probably have questions that you haven't thought of when you walk out the door. And if you are interested in either asking another question or getting involved with us, please email Fee. We've got Fee's contact details. We are looking at bringing on a new load of volunteers, both as sports mentors, but in all these other supporting roles, because we have big plans. It's great to be helping 300 kids, but we want to help 3,000 kids in the next couple of years. And to do that, we need to draw on the skills and the passion from other people in the community to help us. Whether that's a sports mentor, whether it's someone helping with fundraising, running events, helping with marketing, websites, IT, grant writing, there's a million things to do. So if this does appeal to you, if this does push your buttons and you think you've got something that you can offer and you get something out of it, please contact us. Hey, thanks for all coming along tonight.
I